Hello, and welcome to our Creative Shift Conversations. Over the next few weeks, I'll be chatting with artists who took part in Creative Shift 2025. I've brought together some small groups of artists and others I've had one-to-one conversations with, all about sharing their experience of how the course was for them. My hope is that these conversations give you a genuine insight into what Creative Shift is like, what members took from it, and how it's influenced their practice since. If you're considering joining us this year, hopefully hearing from some past participants can help you to decide whether the course sounds like it's right for you. I hope you enjoy the conversations. So today I'm joined by Judith Kaftan. So welcome, Judith. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, my pleasure to be here. Yes, thank you.
So I'd love to start right at the very beginning and ask you about what was happening before you took Creative Shift. So what did your practice look like, and how long had you been creating for? Could you just give us a bit of info about what that looked like?
Yeah, sure. I was newly retired from a long career as a psychotherapist for decades, and I had been doing little art projects on the side here and there. In preparation for knowing I was getting to retire, I started to look around for a little bit more instruction, and somebody told me about Nicholas Wilton, so I was doing a free course with him. Through that, I found Louise Fletcher's course, Find Your Joy. So I was sort of following along and doing various things, and I found myself just doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and just, in this infinite world of art making. And it was Louise who mentioned you. That's my recollection. And she mentioned your course, and she said how helpful it had been to her. And then she had an episode of Art Juice where she interviewed you. And so I'm walking along through my neighborhood and I'm listening to the warm tones of your voice and the way you were describing the organization of the course. And I was just lit up. I was so drawn to how you spoke about just organizing, in a sense, like how to think about oneself as an artist. And the phrase that jumped out at me was following your nudges, which I hadn't ever heard it put quite like that. And I thought, well, that's what I was doing in psychotherapy all the time. I was helping people follow their own nudges. I was following my nudges with them. And it just, I think immediately I felt more at home, like, oh, I understand that.
This
And
is language.
yes, exactly. This is my language. I really felt that right away without meeting you or anything, just hearing that interview. And that has totally carried through. To me, I'll get into that more about what the course is like for me, but that's how I found my way. I wrote you, I got myself on the waiting list. And then I took this big trip when the course started. So we had some correspondence about that. But that was, and I think I was on the waiting list for 6 months or something. So that was my path
And
to
so,
you.
I mean, that's fascinating to hear how many crossovers there are. And that really kind of highlights this crossover between art and life, doesn't it? And the way we use things like I'm sure we'll get into it, but the practical tools of Creative Shift so translate to your life as well.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes, yes.
Okay, so let's get into when you returned from your travels and you started the course. What was that like? What was it like coming in and
Yeah,
your first
well,
impressions?
yeah, and I'll start it in a slightly different place because I was able to start the course with everybody because I hadn't quite left yet. So that was helpful. And I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed, sinking into that first module and all the different questions. And as you were saying at the time, this is where we're going to do this for the longest, right? Get your journal out, and these are some questions that could be helpful. And I thoroughly enjoyed that. And I knew I was in the right place because I honestly did not know what questions to ask myself. Part of it was just doing art, making art, being in the visual art making world as a whole subculture. And I I had been doing, I would say, maybe a bit of window shopping, but I didn't know where I was. So the way that you design the course and even that first module was just like, okay, all right, well, this is what's important to me. This is what lights me up. This is where I've been. This is where I want to go. And so I knew it was a good fit. And then you were graciously reassuring about me being gone for like 5 weeks. She said, just jump in. And that's what I did. I jumped into where the course was at that point. And what's great is the way it's organized. They don't have to go sequentially. They do build on each other, the modules. But what was really wonderful for me was joining in specifically the group calls. And this is another piece I want to say that really struck me because I had done a couple online art courses, and teachers were very gracious about wanting people's input and inviting people's questions, but it was always you'd submit your question and they'd read the question, and it would be a big sort of blast to a bunch of people. So this was all of a sudden, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe it. It was this intimate conversation in real time with a group of people over Zoom with you and your wonderful co-teacher, Casey. And again, I was just immediately like, okay, I can participate in this. I can actually speak up. I wouldn't have said a word in anywhere else. I mean, I just felt comfortable. And that was
Oh,
good. Yeah, that was really
that's
fun for
interesting
me.
to know. I think because Creative Shift has always stayed at a kind of size that's been manageable,
Yes.
where we can have those more intimate
Absolutely.
conversations. I mean, I can't guarantee that we will always stay that size, and maybe we'd have to shift format, but we've been in a very fortunate place where we've grown really kind of organically, and it's been very gentle in that way, so that we've been
Yeah.
able to hold it in the format we have. You said some fascinating things there that I want to hop back on. And I really liked that because I remember now, as you were saying it, I remembered our conversation over email about where to jump in. And I
Right.
love what you said then about that even though the course builds week by week, they are actually individual tools or modules that you
That's right.
can dip in and out to.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that was
Very
great.
much so. And just the way the group call would sort of collect all your prompts and your instruction for the week into the conversation.
Yeah.
So even if I didn't have time to listen to all the pre-recordings, I could jump into the call and be in that wonderful territory of the module
Yeah.
and hear people respond to each other back and forth. And of course, there's so much learning hearing other people's thoughts. And once again, I think I've said this to you before, but both you and Casey, in my humble opinion, have wonderful skills for listening, for attuning, for a kind of empathy. And it's the skill of what is actually being asked. Because the way our minds are, right? We'll ask a question, but there's a lot underneath the question
Yeah.
that the asker is not aware of. And both of you are so skilled at getting at actually what's the real question? How can we address what you're really asking? And continuing to come back to the person asking and say, are we in the right territory here?
Yeah.
Is this helpful? Yeah.
I mean, yes, I think you've rounded that up there in terms of saying, as the asker, the person that's asking the question, I think we don't always know what we want to ask. We can't pinpoint the question. And I think part of Creative Shift, what I love about it is being able to share so many questions from my perspective that you then take on, and then you can ask your own questions after that. And
Right. Oh my gosh, exactly. And it's such a win-win process, right? Because you as the teacher, even you're learning tons from us. We're learning tons from you and from each other by being in that conversational it's like an excavating process in a way, in the best way, right? Like what are we really asking here? What's really happening?
Yes. Yeah.
Where's the stuck place? How does that show up? How does that show up for you? How does that show up for you?
Yeah.
And just tremendously helpful.
What I always find really fascinating is how wildly different like the artists that join Creative Shift are. And we all have such, different practices and different ways of doing things. But our
Yeah.
struggles as artists are
Yeah.
and they're not the same, but they're very similar that we come across throughout. And that depends where we're at in our practice as well, whether we're starting from the very beginning or whether we're coming back after a long break or, as we go on and have a more advanced practice. I think the same, it's quite cyclical in that the issues come around again. And then it's like, oh, but we've got some reference points of how to deal with them this time. But then there's an add-on. And
Exactly. Oh my gosh. And as a newer artist, somebody who couldn't really call themselves an artist at the beginning, that also was tremendously orienting. It's like, oh, well, okay. It's not like that was very helpful. They don't have those questions answered. In fact, it's hard for me to pinpoint sort of what's from Creative Shift and what's from a kind of input afterwards, but that sense of, oh, this is the creative path are the questions. And the answering of the questions in this sort of stumbling around and struggling through them, that is actually what it is, that there's not anything I'm doing wrong about stumbling. That's the stumble is the
the
process.
stumble is the path and everything you uncover. I think one of the things I just want to go back to, because we've found ourselves here in this like the nitty gritty of, asking the questions and looking above and below, and we look at the sides of our practice. But I think many artists in my experience who come to Creative Shift, like you said, you've learned a lot of the hows and it's like technique based. And when you
Right.
return, when you come to your practice or return to art after a while. But I think what Creative Shift then steps in and does is like support the whys, because I think for me, I was fine for a long time, going along in my practice and happily painting. And it was only after a little while I started to think, well, why? And why does that matter? And why is that important? And why do I make those marks? And why do I prefer that? And I think that's what we have like a landing pad for.
Exactly. Exactly. And I certainly haven't noticed that. I don't have a vast experience. I haven't noticed that anywhere else. That's hugely helpful and unique in what this course is about. And yeah, I've loved that. Love that.
Great.
I was going to just add one more piece, and I was like, what was I just thinking? It was about materials and process. So other courses, right, would talk about the nature of the materials or whatever, and you can use this or whatever. That module also was kind of a revelation to me because it's like, why would you choose this material over that? Just take a look at that for yourself. And that was great learning too. Like, oh yeah, okay. That is fascinating. I'm drawn to this, but not to that. And so again, more help, just orienting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's such a valid point. And for me, that's something that stayed with me since, well, when I was at university, my background's in textiles. So it was
Yeah.
obviously all about fabrics and materials. And that's something like that particular module is based around my learnings from literally my early 20s. So it's
Fantastic.
been
Yeah.
such an important part of my practice. And it's definitely something I thought I'd share with others in the, creative shift process, because it can really enhance your work, and give
Oh,
messaging that without having to make marks or without having color, you can do this through materials or
right.
fabric or whatever that may be.
That's that's right. That's right. And exactly. And again, alongside that was how, well, we might be getting too deeply into the weeds here. How do you have your studio set up? And is
Yeah.
it set up for you? Is it If you like those materials, but those materials are in the back drawer somewhere, maybe that's something to pay attention to too.
But these are things that they're such practical things. And,
Right. Right.
the way we work, our process, like where are things placed, that can either like really enhance your experience of making, or it can really hinder you. So,
That's
yeah, that's the reason I have that in because, yeah, if you do have a favorite material or tool, but it's never around, then you might be
right.
missing out on the potential of what it could add.
Exactly. And I just want to say again, without having huge, vast experience, I just haven't had other teachers asking those kinds of questions. The focus is just elsewhere. So once again, what we're talking about is what's the unique, particular focus of Creative Shift, and that's just one example out of many other ways that we're focused in the course. But that was hugely helpful. Like, oh yeah, where is my stuff, and
Yeah.
where do I want it to be, and what do I want to highlight, and yeah.
I think my main focus for that is trying to bring together, we've got all of these aspects that make up our creative practice. And
Right.
I just love the idea of drawing attention to each one of them because we can flesh out, well, what's in that for me, and not every aspect or every tool is going to be relevant for each time you move through your work or you come across a stumbling block. But I love the idea that we have this like toolbox full of these tools that we can dip into and pick out the one that we need when we're coming up against troubles in the studio. So, if we're getting frustrated, why? And
Exactly. I would say, just hearing you say that the course itself is creating a toolbox of questions to ask oneself in all these different areas. And again, hugely helpful because depending on where you're feeling yourself stuck, you're going to gravitate to this set of questions or that set of questions. And that, again, was orienting. Oh, well, these are the kinds of questions artists ask themselves. Okay, I've been asking these questions. Okay,
yeah.
well, yeah, that makes sense.
And then you
And
learn to navigate your own practice
yeah,
without having to
precisely,
reach out. And, because
precisely.
sometimes there's a blanket approach to something. We might take another course or think we might need something else. And I think often we probably need to just shift the focus inwards a little bit, but know what questions to ask and know what tools are available to us because we often have a lot of them. We're just not aware of them.
Exactly, and it's very organizing of the kinds of questions one needs to ask oneself. That's what the course is. It's a whole series. That's in my view. But I think about it right now. It's a whole library of questions
Yes.
that one can ask oneself over the course of a whole lifetime of
Yes.
doing
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
doing really anything actually. But we're focused on visual art. But
Yeah.
I mean, these kinds of questions could be asked of any kind of process,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's wonderful too. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so shifting things forward a little bit,
Yes.
how has your practice changed since the course? What does it look like now, or what did shift for you?
Yeah. So uh, I would say I'm just clearer on what I like and what works for me and what doesn't. And again, that's going to go on and on the rest of my life and will keep evolving. But sort of from where I'm landing now, I have much more of a sense of that. And along with that comes some confidence like, oh, okay. If I was sort of wandering around a city by myself before, it's like, no, I'm in this neighborhood and I'm in this neighborhood for a reason. And I like this neighborhood.
Yeah, I've got a
And I
place
feel good in
here.
this neighborhood.
I belong here.
I belong here. Exactly. Oh my goodness. Precisely. I mean, I think that part of the cultures many of us have grown up in, and I'll speak for myself, is like art is for people with talent over there. And you get to look at it and watch it, but you don't really get to participate in it. So it's just a huge shift. And I mean,
Hmm.
I knew, of course I did, but I didn't quite know how to find my way into it. So I have much more confidence around what I'm doing, not what I'm doing. There's a lot of uncertainty about what I'm doing, which again is part of the creative process, but about what are the kinds of materials and processes that I like, and yeah, what I want to keep exploring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? Because you know, we can't see the whole path. Who knows what
Right.
your creative path will look like in 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now? We can't know. But what we can try to fathom out is what our next steps are.
That's
And
right.
I always say, we only really need to see that step because
That's
there's
right.
so much going on in that next step that will then feed another one and that will feed another one. And so we feel like, I don't know, sometimes we feel like, oh, we get frustrated or we're going around in circles. But actually, with the tools from Creative Shift, like you've just said, but you can come to a point and then you ask a specific set of questions and then you think, oh, well, that sorted that bit on the process out. And then you go again and then you go again. So,
Mm. Yes, exactly. And so the shift for me, I would say, if there's this first year of doing this, is that um, that about the path, but that, oh, I can be on the path. This is my path. This is open to me. And it's going to look different than anybody else's. It'll look similar to some people's, etc. But oh, yes, of course I can do this. And that's a huge,
yeah.
wonderful experience.
I'm
Yeah.
sensing the confidence that you're talking about there. It's yeah,
Mhm.
when we can feel like more grounded in our practice and when we
Right.
have clarity and we know, like you say, we know our preferences, we know what we like, we know where we're headed or, trying to get to the next step. I think then the external influence it becomes
Mm.
much less important
Exactly. That's right. Right.
because we can just, we're immersed in our own practice and we've got our own excitement that we're going after, within our own practice. So yeah, I think I sense that confidence there that it's less about somebody else's path or the way somebody else does something.
Exactly. Exactly. And that, I mean, that's the key to so much that's just hugely valuable. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So if anybody is watching this and they are considering doing Creative Shift this year, what would your advice be?
This is such a great question. I would say just to make sure that you attend the group calls at sort of one time or the other time, whatever works best, and that you don't have to attend them live, but just avail yourself of the group calls for each module because there is so much, in my experience, just so much richness that comes out of those discussions that pertain to that particular module. There's lots of
Okay.
great information that pertain to each module, and you can hear it conversationally through facilitated conversation. It's not just people talking together, it's people being guided into a conversation about it and sort of what their own experiences are. And this is maybe not pertaining to that question exactly, but there was so much openness and vulnerability elicited in the course that I was so moved. It was wonderful, and it was touching, and I felt very connected to it. And so I thought those were great.
I think we've always managed to hold that space in Creative Shift. I think because of it's always felt like an incubator where people can just come together and kind of. I was just saying that, yeah, I think we've always managed to
Yeah,
create this really like safe feeling space, a safe space where people just, I think you're in the mindset, if you're coming to a course like Creative Shift, I think you
yeah,
know that a lot of the stuff is just ready to be released because you're ready to make a shift. So in order to do
exactly.
that, I think needs to be a willingness to drop
Yeah,
whatever hasn't been working or be open to some new ideas or new thoughts or something new
that's
to come.
yeah.
Um,
It's kind of a vulnerable place, right? You want to make a shift.
yeah,
There's something going on there. Exactly, exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
And then the facilitation of it is so well done because there's so much welcome for the diversity of each person and diversity for each person with themselves, for God's sake, right?
yeah.
You want What you wanted last week might not be what you want this week.
We're artists.
And just that openness and that freedom, and that this is how we find our way and how we support each other
Yeah.
along the way as well.
Yeah,
So great.
it's always been. I think we're in the fifth year of running it now, and it's always been that really gentle, lovely, supportive space. And I feel very fortunate that people do feel they can come and just put down their bags, and
Yeah.
just be kind of
Oh
locked
yeah,
in for that space of time.
exactly. Put down their bags and not have to be smart. I
Yeah.
mean, I think that's sort of that letting go of the pressure of feeling like you have to perform, knowing something
Put
to
down the bags and not
down
have
the
to
bags and not
perform.
have to be smart, not have to pretend to know more than you actually know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's so valuable. You can truly keep practicing, like, this is actually where I am,
Mm.
which I think a big part of the creative process is this is actually where I am. I want to be there. I can't pretend that I'm there. I just have to be here.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of practice of expressing that again and again.
I love that this comes up in the course. It's one of my phrases, the start where you are, because that's
Yes,
what
exactly.
you're describing. And
Right.
when we start where we are, there is so much acceptance in that. And that allows us to just, yeah, let everything else drop away. We don't
Yeah,
need to carry what's not ours to carry and what's not supportive. So,
that's
and what you mentioned about we're here and we might want to be there. I think
Mhm.
what Creative Shift does is what's in this gap.
Yeah, wonderful. What's in the gap? What are the questions to ask? What's the help you need to get there?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and it's help from outside, but it's also help from inside.
yeah,
It's how do you orient yourself to
yeah.
find your way in that direction?
And I
Yeah,
think just looking at it as a process, it's like your gap might be this big, you want to be here, or your gap might be this big, but there are stepping stones that can help us to get there.
that's right.
So, yeah.
Exactly. Mhm.
Oh, Judith, that's wonderful. Is there anything else that we've not spoken about that you'd like to add that you think would be helpful for anybody listening?
Let's see. Well, one other piece that comes to mind, once again, just based on other classes I've taken, I would say creative shift is about the whole person of each person, so that we're invited also to look at what else is happening in your world, in your life, that feeds your practice, what is happening in your life that drains your practice, what um so just those kinds of questions too, so it extends outside the studio
Yeah.
and invites a kind of over like 360-degree assessment of oneself, and also 360-degree sort of tweaks and adjustments that
Yeah.
can help
Yes.
facilitate a creative process, a creative path for somebody. Yeah.
Yeah, because we are artists in all the facets of our life. We're not just the artist when we arrive at your workstation and pick up your brush.
Right.
And that's one thing that, yeah, it's like I try to sort of champion about we are artists and we live life. It's about living life creatively and all the
That's right.
creative pockets that are around us that actually influence us as people, as individuals, but it filters through to our work. And so it's, yeah, keeping all of those, are all those in check? Are all those feeding us in the way we want them to feed us?
How are those right? How are we experiencing those? And I thought of one other thing that is actually really important for me that I want to say out loud is that I had no idea when I started Creative Shift that it would open up into Art House,
Mm,
which is, and that has just been a total revelation. Yeah, to me, it's like the pathway into this community that I have loved. And I've stepped away because I'm doing this other course I'm coming back to. I just like, oh, I have an art home. I have people that I can get to know. I had been wanting to find an art buddy or two. I have half a dozen now. And that's just enormous. So I want to make sure that I say that too. And
yeah,
that's
no, I mean, Art House, even though I don't necessarily link them directly, I mean, they are all my communities. So, we do, I think in Art House, I very light touch on the ethos of creative shift, because obviously it's my ethos, it runs through my practice.
Sure.
But yeah,
Sure.
it's not as obviously we work through that monthly, don't we? So it's not the
Yeah.
intensity that we have in the course. But yeah, they definitely that filters through, because it's what I know, it's what I do, it's the way I live.
Absolutely. And I was delighted. I didn't know about it. And somewhere partially through, I learned about it, and I just quit all my other memberships. It's like, okay, I found my place. This is where I want to be. And this meets me. This meets my needs. This is,
Yeah.
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 So,
I think that's what I say about the course as well. Creative Shift always meets you wherever you are,
yeah.
because whether you're a total beginner and you're just thinking, oh, this is, why am I creating this work? Or you want to have a more of like a foundation in what goes into a creative practice. I think
Mm,
it meets you where you are there. And then as you
right,
get further down the path, it can meet you there, because the further you
right.
go, the different questions you ask. And then we're faced with different challenges. So
That
we can only be where we can be on the path, and we can only, it meets us where we are in that way. So,
exactly right. And that
oh,
wherever we are on the path, it's a rich place, actually.
yeah.
That's a huge learning. It's not like, oh, well, if I get there, then it's going to be really cool. It's like, actually,
When you
well,
get there, there's there.
that's
And
right. That's
I
right.
love, I love that it's called a practice for that reason, because we just keep
Exactly.
coming back.
Exactly. You got to start where you are, and where you are is plenty. It's
Yes.
plenty. There's plenty to explore there, and plenty of surprise and satisfaction and frustration and struggle and
Yeah.
all of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Judith, it's been so lovely to chat to you today. Thank you for meeting with me and sharing your experience of Creative Shift. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's my pleasure.
And I'll see you back in the art house or on
That
Creative Shift this year.
sounds wonderful. Thank
All right.
you.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. If you'd like more information about Creative Shift, please join the waiting list, and you'll find links in the copy below or in the bio, depending on where you're watching this. Okay, thanks. Bye bye.